Dokumentär som berättar om Amy Winehouse liv och vardag som popstjärna fram till slutet.
Amy Winehouse. She was one of the decade's biggest R&B stars.
This woman could be a legend.
But her talent was so often overshadowed by scandal.
She's someone who became more known for the antics than for the music.
Her troubled personal life. Life-threatening drug use.
She'd overdosed and was very, very close to death that night.
And tabloid exploits.
Every time she steps out of her house messed up, you know about it.
Made her pop's most provocative young star.
She's got the thing that not all celebrities have anymore, which is a God-given talent.
But sadly, talent wasn't enough. On January 16, 2007, a little-known British singer named Amy Winehouse nervously took the stage at Joe's Pub in downtown New York City for her first U.S. performance ever. Already a certified celebrity in her native England, the 23-year-old R&B vocalist had in recent months drawn major media attention, not just for her music, but for her increasingly tumultuous personal life.
She'd already had 2 albums come out in the UK, so her record label decided to organize this event. This is her first live performance in the United States at Joe's Pub in New York City, which is a very sort of small, intimate cabaret space. This was sort of their way of introducing her to American audiences.
That very first show that she played, there was really this nervous edge in the air that was, it was exciting. There was electricity.
Sporting a beehive, tattoos, and a tight black dress, Amy tore through the songs that had already made her a hit in the UK.
As soon as Amy opened her mouth and started to sing, people were amazed at her voice.
But it wasn't just her voice that got people talking. It was her truly unusual stage presence.
She was so uncomfortable and fidgety and, pulling at her dress and, turning away and talking to the band and not talking to the crowd, and, it was intriguing.
During the set, she actually, called out and ordered an amaretto sour. She, drank it on stage. People in the audience were like, it's a little unusual, but she's got that voice, so, she totally brought the house down.
The performance spoke volumes about Amy. She's an enormous talent who treads the razor's edge between artistic greatness and image. But her childhood in a cozy middle-class household was anything but edgy.
Amy was born in 1983 in North London, and she grew up in Southgate, which is a very Jewish suburb. Father Mitch is a taxi driver, and her mother works as a pharmacist, and she had an older brother.
They were a pretty tight-knit family, but even from a very young age, Amy was a little bit of a difficult child.
She was a child who was perhaps a little willful.
Everybody who knew Amy as a kid, whether it was her teachers or parents or relatives, all say that she was very cheeky and a real attention seeker. But they say it was a smile on her face.
Amy used to do these strange things just to get attention. As a toddler even, she would pretend to choke on plastic just to get her parents' attention.
And from the beginning, music was a huge part of the Winehouse family.
Her father was a taxi driver, salesman, working-class Jewish London guy, and a big jazz fan, a big jazz vocal fan.
My musical choice was always Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald.
Like a lot of girls growing up, Amy was definitely closer to her father Mitch. She is a real sort of daddy's girl.
My dad sings, and I sang as a child, obviously, and I just assumed growing up that everyone sings.
Her father Mitch would sing Frank Sinatra songs to her and leave words out from the lyrics, and then she'd fill them in. And there was always jazz being played in the house by her parents, on the stereo, and that was her childhood.
But Amy's harmonious family life was not what it seemed. In 1993, her father revealed that he'd been having an affair for some 8 years. When Amy turned 9, her parents divorced.
Divorce is a typically upsetting, destructive thing for kids. Her dad is a central figure. Her dad is the source of the music at home. The pain of the father's leaving and of finding that the family life that felt close-knit is a lie.
She was only 9 at the time, and that was a big pain for any child, but for Amy it was a really big deal because she was so close to her father and he'd been such a sort of charismatic and huge presence in her life, and then suddenly he'd gone.
After the divorce, she said that she started cutting herself at the age of 9.
Obviously, she's suffering a lot. That whole horrifying internalization of pain and externalization of it by taking a knife of some sort to her own body.
After the divorce, Amy's dad, Mitch, lived with his mistress, while Amy and her brother, Alex, stayed with their mom, Janice. With the arrival of adolescence, Amy's mischievous behavior took a decidedly rebellious turn.
Amy Winehouse was trouble from the beginning, one way or another. Maybe not in serious ways in the beginning, but had trouble with order and discipline at school.
At her school, her and her best friend used to have all sorts of jaunts going on. They'd corner a boy and say, "We won't let you go until you drop your trousers."
But there was one constant that gave Amy Winehouse divorce: music.
Growing up, I just thought when you're happy or sad, you sing.
Growing up, the music that influenced Amy was really jazz, like Billie Holiday, but also a lot of the 60s girl groups, and then right into the sort of late 80s, early 90s hip-hop and neo-soul.
As an early teenager, she even started this hip-hop duo with a lifelong friend called Sweet and Sour. Amy was sour, of course.
And they wrote some songs, including ones like Who Needs Boys, and that was Amy's first step into the musical performance world. It wasn't a very serious one, but that was where she kicked it off.
Gregarious and creative, Amy was a poor fit for the traditional classroom setting. But at age 12, she found a school designed just for outsiders like herself. The prestigious Sylvia Young Theatre School in London.
Sylvia Young Theatre School is the most respected and renowned theatre stage school in England. Numerous stars have gone through their doors.
Sylvia Young Theatre School is a school for children between 10 and 16. We also have a lot of success in the pop world. We have, of course, Emma Bunton, Spice Girls. When Amy came to audition for us, she had to do an acting piece, sing, and a basic dance. Her acting was extremely good, and her singing, of course, blew us away. Absolutely blew us away. She sang on the sunny side of the street. I thought at the time she was a young Judy Garland. Beautiful tone, really rich and so musical. A perfection.
Amy's undeniable talent was recognized at Sylvia Young. But after 3 years, poor grades and bad behavior were cause for concern. 15-year-old Amy was asked to leave.
Even though Amy enjoyed the Sylvia Young Theatre School, she didn't exactly excel there.
Amy, yes, she did have discipline problems. She was in her own world. She'd do her own thing. I mean, she'd have this sort of earring or nose ring in, and I'd say, "Amy, would you remove that?" She'd apologise very genuinely, and then an hour or so later, it'd be back in. I do know that Amy was unhappy at leaving here, and that she cried every night.
The day Amy was removed from Sylvia Young School, her mother had actually dropped the family's pet cat at the vet's on the way there. Then she collected Amy, and the cat ended up being put down. And her mother's joked since that maybe it was Amy who should have been put down and the cat that she should have taken home.
She'd finally found an accepting environment for her precocious talent, only to have it taken away. Though clearly a setback, an unexpected break was just around the corner. By age 12, Amy Winehouse's voice had won her a spot in the prestigious Sylvia Young Theatre School. But 3 years later, her mounting behavior problems and poor grades forced her to leave. Still, Amy had found a lifelong advocate in the school's namesake.
After she left school, we did keep in touch with her. In fact, I actually said that she should be auditioning for the National Youth Jazz Orchestra. The National Youth Orchestra is an amazing orchestra of young performers.
I had a phone call from Sylvia Young, and she said, we've got this singer called Amy Winehouse, and we don't know what to do with her. In fact, she walked in to the theatre here. This is the first time she came. A little Jewish girl from North London says, hello, my name is Amy Winehouse, that's a Jewish name. And that was the first thing she ever said to me. And she was obviously very confident in her ability as a singer.
Amy started attending rehearsals in London's Cockpit Theatre. The director was so floored by her talent that he offered her a rare chance, a solo vocal performance.
I said, OK, well, it's time she came and did a concert with us. And I rang her up and I said, we've got no singer for today. Can you come? She said, well, I don't know your repertoire. She had 4 songs. She'd learnt them on the tube. She knew them, words and music and the arrangements, and she could not have been faulted. Absolutely spot on what she did. She was absolutely great. I would say the most naturally talented singer I've ever come across.
As Amy honed her singing voice with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra, she also began recording demos with her former Sylvia Young schoolmate, Tyler James. Amy did little to promote them, but these tapes would transform her life.
A friend of Amy's from her school had been signed to a development deal with Simon Fuller's company. Simon Fuller, the man behind the Spice Girls, behind American Idol, you know, a major power player in pop music and certainly in British pop music. And Amy and her friend had been working on demos for her, and though she was not the sort to go out and hustle, he was able to get her tapes onto Simon Fuller's company, who took an interest.
Brilliant 19, which is a division of 19 Management, sent a manager and an A&R rep to see Amy perform, and when they saw her, they were absolutely blown away by her talent. Within weeks, they decided to sign her.
I was really lucky, you know, I didn't put myself out there as much as I could have.
At just 17 years old, Amy signed her first deal with a management company. It was a watershed for her career. But from the outset, the jazzy songbird found herself at odds with Simon Fuller's teen pop factory.
Simon Fuller is known as a star maker. He manages a lot of pop acts.
At that point, they liked to mold her into something a bit more sellable, but she had her own idea of what she wanted to do.
1, 2, 3, 4. 19E is a pop factory. If you have someone who you believe you can make a star, you put them with a group of songwriters, usually proven hit makers. In Amy Winehouse's case, some guys who'd written songs for the Spice Girls.
I was just a young songwriter, producer, you know, so I was getting involved with a guy called Matt Rowe, who's a very well-established producer. He was instrumental in creating the Spice Girls as the phenomenons that they became. I think half the problem with Amy was she didn't like the fact that she was working with the guy that did the Spice Girls. Because she wanted to be a jazz singer, not Posh Spice.
From day one in the studios, Amy refused to play along.
Amy came to the studio that I was working in London, and she had no solid material whatsoever. She didn't care about it. We very rarely did any work. What we did do was we hung out and we would do everything that we could to avoid doing some work. That usually involved going down to town and going record shopping and clothes shopping. We used to go to the pub, and then we would make a dash for the studio on Friday. And we did this very regularly, and we'd cobble together some semblance of what the world might call music. We wrote a song called October Song, which was a song about her pet canary called Ava. And she'd gone away for the weekend and had come back, and apparently it had died in the weekend while she was away. And believe it or not, the powers that be used to come to the studio and were totally awestruck by what we had achieved in this week of work, which was actually, you know, amounted to no more than 3 or 4 hours.
It took nearly a year, but by the summer of 2002, Amy had actually delivered a demo tape to her management company. but she still didn't have a deal with a label. Unbeknownst to Amy, though, an influential figure in the record industry had been watching her career